Dutch van der Linde, the legendary leader of the van der Linde gang founded back in the 1870s, a true outlaw with morals, a man whose charisma made people follow him without question, a hero, a savior for his gang members. But what happened to this man? What went so wrong that it led to the Dutch we see at the end of RDR2 and in RDR1? In today's video, we're going to dive deep into Dutch's full story, from the very beginning to the very end, and uncover details you probably missed while playing the games. This is going to be a wild ride. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and let's jump right in.
So how did you know she was gonna betray us? What'd she say?
It was in her eyes, in the way she was leading us.
But you said you knew Spanish.
Senor, por favor.
Damn, that's good.
Before the events of Red Dead Redemption 2, Dutch van der Linde was not the man we all remember from the end of the story. He wasn't manipulative or paranoid yet. He was almost the complete opposite. Dutch, alongside Hosea Matthews, founded the van der Linde gang in the early 1870s with a dream, not of chaos, but of freedom, loyalty, and living by their own code. Back then, Dutch believed in justice, in protecting his people, and in fighting a world that he saw as corrupt. He was a man that believed he could change the world and help many people. To Arthur and John, Dutch wasn't just a leader, he was a father. And yes, you might be surprised, but the men Arthur Morgan and John Marston became, that's all thanks to Dutch and Hosea's upbringing. Both Arthur and John were just kids when they joined the gang. The van der Linde gang became their family, their example, and the only home they ever knew. When you look at Dutch at the very beginning of RDR2, you can still feel that side of him, the man who truly cared about his people, the man who wanted a better life for his family. Just watch this scene.
Now all of you, get yourselves warm. Stay strong. Stay with me. We ain't done yet.
But somewhere along the way, everything began to change.
They won't catch me. They won't catch me. Stay strong. Stay with me. They will not crush us.
Warning, major spoilers ahead. To truly understand what happened to Dutch van der Linde, we need to go back, all the way back, to the origins of the van der Linde gang. Dutch and Hosea Matthews first met in the 1870s. Both were clever, both were schemers, and both tried to rob each other. But instead of ending in blood, the situation ended in laughter. They admired each other's wit and ended up becoming close friends. Together, they founded the van der Linde gang, not out of greed, but out of shared ideals. Dutch hated civilization. He saw the world as cruel, unjust, and full of lies. But he wasn't a man who gave up. Even in Red Dead Redemption 1, Dutch says he simply can't surrender. He believed in a better future and was willing to suffer to create a world where people could live free and equal. At first, the van der Linde gang didn't rob banks or blow up trains. Their philosophy was closer to Robin Hood, even though the game never mentions him. They stole from the rich, gave to the poor, and lived by a moral code. Dutch believed that governments, corporations, and civilization itself were tools of the wealthy, designed to control and exploit. He truly thought he could build a utopia. And that belief was the very thing that eventually destroyed him. A few years after the gang was formed, Dutch and Hosea met a wild 14-year-old boy, Arthur Morgan.
Arthur, isn't it? Arthur Morgan, van der Linde's most trusted associate. Orphaned street kid seduced by that maniac's silver tongue and matures into a degenerate murderer.
Dutch felt pity for the kid and took him in. They didn't just give him food and shelter, they taught him to read, write, and shoot. Dutch and Hosea raised Arthur, and the Arthur we see in Red Dead Redemption 2, that strong, conflicted man, was shaped entirely by them. Then, in 1885, Dutch heard that a young boy was about to be hanged in Illinois. That boy was John Marston. Dutch was outraged. He believed killing a child was a sin, no matter what he'd done. So he rescued John and brought him into the gang. From that point on, the Van der Linde gang became more than just outlaws. They became a family. Arthur and John were like brothers. Dutch and Hosea were their fathers. Susan Grimshaw, their mother figure. Dutch would read stories to them by the fire. He taught John the same lessons he once gave Arthur. That's why, no matter how much Dutch changed later on, neither Arthur nor John could ever truly abandon him, because he was the man who raised them, fed them, and gave them a place in the world. At some point, the Van der Linde gang clashed with the O'Driscolls, led by Dutch's rival Colum O'Driscoll. Dutch despised how Colum treated his own men like animals, and Colum laughed at Dutch's dream of a better world. Despite this, Dutch managed to broker a temporary peace, but everything fell apart when Dutch killed Colum's brother. In revenge, Colum murdered Dutch's lover, Annabelle. That was the first turning point. Dutch would mention her years later with visible pain. Something inside him broke that day, and it never fully healed. Let's pause for a second and remember what Dutch used to believe in. Robbing the poor was shameful. In fact, Dutch once scolded Arthur harshly for stealing from a struggling family. Revenge was a luxury. He often said they couldn't afford it. And this stuck with Arthur, who later repeated it himself. But ironically, Dutch would eventually throw away that belief and chase vengeance himself. Civilization spread and the government pushed harder against Dutch's ideals. He began to change. The gang no longer risked themselves to help the poor. They focused on self-preservation. But even then, Dutch still believed in his dream. He just became more ruthless in trying to achieve it. Hosea noticed the shift. He remained loyal to Dutch, but he no longer believed in the gang's direction. He still joined the heists, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. Dutch once saw himself as a hero, a revolutionary fighting a rigged system, but over time, the pressure, the losses, and the constant failures chipped away at his soul. He started dragging the gang into darker, more violent jobs. They worked with people like Leopold Strauss, who preyed on the same poor families the gang used to protect. Dutch became more violent, less stable, and increasingly obsessed with an unreachable dream. In the beginning, he was a man of principle, a Robin Hood for the forgotten. But the death of Annabelle, the relentless pressure of civilization, and the slow erosion of his ideals pushed him over the edge. He didn't abandon all of his morals at once, but one by one, they slipped away. And that's how Dutch Van der Linde, the revolutionary, the father, the dreamer, began his fall. Between 1893 and 1898, nearly all of the Van der Linde gang's core members joined. Many wouldn't even live to see the events of Red Dead Redemption 2. But this is Dutch's story. In 1898, everything changed. That's when Micah Bell joined. Dutch liked him right away. Smart, bold, full of ideas. Arthur and Hosea didn't trust him, but Dutch did. That same year, Micah proposed a dangerous heist in Blackwater with promises of a massive score. Hosea and Arthur begged Dutch to back down. Too risky. But he didn't listen. During the robbery, things went wrong. In the chaos, Dutch shot and killed an innocent woman, Heidi McCourt. The old Dutch would have never done that. That moment was the second major crack in his soul.
Even my best friend here, he thinks I'm crazy. Listen to me. We don't want to kill any of you. Any more of you. Now we need money.
Arthur and Hosea weren't part of the job. When they returned, they saw something had changed. Dutch no longer listened to them. He only listened to Micah. He started ignoring Hosea, the co-founder of the gang. He stopped trusting Arthur, and he let Micah, a man with no honor, no morals, no loyalty, become his closest advisor. Micah fed Dutch's ego. He said what Dutch wanted to hear. He lit the match that burned the gang from the inside out. Dutch was becoming Micah, or worse. After the failed heist, the gang fled into the snowy mountains, starving and broken. And yet, Dutch gave a speech, and people believed in him again. Once they got out, Hosea was the first to notice. Dutch was different. His ideas darker, his plans more erratic. He kept chasing one last job that never came. In Chapter 3, Dutch suffers a head injury during a trolley crash. Some fans believe that moment triggered real brain damage. I dug around on the internet and it turned out that in such a case, without a seatbelt, when the impact falls on a hard surface, the probability of getting a traumatic brain injury exceeds 70%. Then came the bank job. Hosea knew it was doomed, but joined anyway. Not for the money, for the gang. He was killed in front of Dutch, and the heist failed. This was the breaking point.
Hosea. God damn it!
Hosea wasn't just a friend, he was Dutch's conscience. Now, that conscience was gone.
We need money! You dumb fool! Money! Or we are dead! We are dead!
From this point on, Dutch becomes a man we barely recognize. He listens only to Micah. He gets colder, crueler. He leaves John behind, ignores Abigail. He leads Arthur to his death. But Dutch wasn't just greedy. He always believed in freedom, a new world far from civilization. But that dream was dying. And as it slipped away, so did his mind. He wasn't chasing money, he was chasing a fantasy he couldn't let go of. And yet, in the end, he walks away from the money. He betrays Arthur. He watches him die. But Arthur's death wakes something up. Dutch realizes he destroyed everything he built. And for the first time in the game, he says nothing. He is hollow.
Come on, Dutch. Come on!
But deep down, the old Dutch decides again to not give up. He kills Micah. And this time, he stands beside John, the one he once abandoned. But this time, he doesn't repeat his mistake. He pulls the trigger.
Something, Dutch! Say something! I ain't got too much to say no more.
You shot me. You shot me pretty good.
And he leaves the money behind. Seemed like Dutch learned from his mistakes and could start a new life. But not. In Red Dead Redemption 1, we meet Dutch again. Older, tired, broken. He's tried to start a new gang, committed new crimes, but not for power, not for wealth. He just doesn't know how to live without the fight. When John and the feds catch up to him, he doesn't resist. He sees John as a son, and he knows the age of outlaws is over. There's no place left for men like him. This is his final moment. The man who never gave up finally gives in. Not to the law, to the truth. He can't live without his dream, without the fight, without freedom. And standing at the edge of a cliff, he speaks his last words, and lets go.
But I can't give up, neither. I can't fight my own nature. That's a paradox, John. You see? Then I have to shoot you. When I'm gone, they'll just find another monster. They have to. Because they have to justify their wages.
That's their business.
Our time has passed, John.
To wrap things up, Dutch van der Linde was never just a villain. He was a dreamer with an impossible dream, and that drove him completely insane. He lost control of himself, of everything, and that's exactly why I love Rockstar. One character from their world can have more depth and tragedy than entire games from other studios. Dutch isn't just a character. He's a mirror, a legend, and a warning. If you made it this far, thank you. This video took a lot of time and heart. If you want to support, there's a donation link below, but even a like, comment, or sub means the world to me. And remember, the world may change, but legends never die. See you next time, cowboy. Ride on.